Now, one of the things I wanted to speak to you about was the stereotypes of business women advancing, and the terrible image. There was an article recently in a magazine about women on boards, and in the illustration, the illustrator had put forward for the article was older women, grey hair, white hair, sitting at glossy, shiny board tables with big fat cigars, sitting in big armchairs and smoking cigars and being on a golf course. So really, in effect, being there as women, older women, and doing the male thing, which really, for me, defeats the object of being on a board. And you're not able to express yourself in your femininity and bring a woman's perspective or the feminine perspective if you're having to play that man's game. And do it the male way. We want women to be there in their feminine as women. So it's interesting, these stereotypes. And do you remember we were talking before about the kind of successful businesswoman as exemplified in The Devil Wears Prada?
Yeah.
We don't really have any role models for successful businesswomen who are doing it in a different way. Back in the UK, we have a woman business leader called Michelle Moan, who's had a very, very successful lingerie company. And recently, her marriage broke up, and there's editorials, she's being interviewed, and she sounds like somebody who's very, very focused, very driven, and really her marriage foundered after a number of 20 years because the business was so important. It was almost the marriage suffered because of that, and now she's distraught because she's lost her marriage. And so, what I'm really taking away from that is, if I was looking at it as a young role model, I can't be successful and have a successful marriage. That I've got to drive myself so much to be successful that it's one or the other. Where we need to have the role models of women who do achieve success, great success, but they're not putting the rest of their lives at risk.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, two famous examples perhaps I can give is Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
She combines the two very, very well, and she talks about that, and she calls it work-life balance.
Yeah.
And in Australia, we have Gail Kelly, who is the CEO of Westpac Banking Corporation. Mm-hmm. Again, she does both of them.
Does she have a family?
She does. Yeah. Very, very important to her. And I think those are just two examples out of many who have done that. And I think the problem with women is they see themselves as either or instead of both and. And I think we have to break that down. We need to say, let's bring in either other helpers to run the business. In other words, let's not just do it all by myself. And J.K. Rowling is a good example of that, where she actually brought in other people to help her do the books and do the films. She didn't do it all by herself. But the point of this conversation, I think, Gina, is the fact that we need to have a look at what are the models that don't work. And we can't look at 20th century models because they don't work today.
Yeah, we're trying to create this new paradigm.
New paradigm.
Yeah, but it is difficult for women where the system doesn't support motherhood, because there are women who do want a family and they want to work, they want to express themselves outside the home and realise their potential, and then they're not given the working hours or working ways that support them having young children. So they then make the decision of being either or. And that's not their fault. That's the system that doesn't recognise the value of them as a woman.
So we need to work from top down and bottom up as well.
Yeah.
So we need to have policies from the top down that says we want to create work-friendly organisations. And bottom up, women need to say, this is what we demand.